Welcome back to the Zac Clark Show. We are kind of calling this a mini episode, which we're going to do time to time so that we can be responsive to some of the things that are going on in the world. Much like people cover the news, people cover pop culture, people cover athletics. We take a great deal of pride in paying attention to what is going on in the world around mental health, around behavioral health care, around substance abuse, and this kind of emergency mini episode is on the heels of I'm a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan. And one of the things that I watch for and I pay attention to in sports, having been around sports, having been an athlete, is mental health, the way that we support our athletes, the way that we talk about mental health, the way that the mind affects the body and vice versa. And so, being a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, I have loved watching the team this year because they have two people in particular, Lane Johnson, who every Monday puts out a tweet around mental health. He is a mental health advocate. It feels weird to have a favorite player as a grown man, but if I had a favorite player, that would be Lane Johnson. And he's just a guy that's out there that I know is going to make major impact well beyond what he's doing on the field. And then there's A.J. Brown, and I have followed A.J. Brown. The Eagles traded for A.J. Brown a couple years ago. He's an all-pro wide receiver, went to the University of Mississippi, had a great career there, and then got drafted by the Tennessee Titans, where very early on in his career, he started to talk about mental health. And I remember watching that and becoming a fan of his. And then I remember when the Eagles actually traded for him, I was super excited because he was a guy that I rooted for, right? Because he was out there publicly talking about mental health. And during his tenure here in Philadelphia as a Philadelphia Eagle, I have always had his back. And I have Jay Devore here with us, who is one of our producers and chimes in from time to time. But we want to have a conversation around something that took place yesterday in the Eagles game, which I'm super fired up about. I didn't realize it happened until I go to every game. I'm a season ticket holder. Of course, the Eagles won 22-10. They'll advance to the next round. But I will let ESPN cover that. And we are here to talk about A.J. Brown. So, Jay, what happened with A.J. yesterday?
I think this clip went viral. A.J. Brown, in the middle of a NFL playoff game, is sitting on the sidelines reading a book, and I think people sort of jumped on that, started speculating what that could mean. He's frustrated, he's checking out, he's not getting the ball enough, whatever it may be, and it turns out that he's an avid reader. He's reading a book that he's gone through hundreds of times, pulled out quotes, and it's something that really helps him prepare and get in the right headspace, in the heat of the battle. Afterwards, that's exactly what he said. And what's funny is that book on Amazon's bestseller was like 500,000 and something yesterday, and today is like number one.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
A.J. Brown's ahead of his time. He's ahead of his time. And I'm going to tell you what. Last year, we saw Wyndham Clark on the PGA Tour. Wyndham Clark started playing lights-out golf, and he attributed to that to one thing. He got a sports psychologist. He started working with someone, not on his biceps, not on his bench press, not on his leg press, not on his putting, not on his short game, on his brain, on his mind, on how he carries himself. And I got to tell you, man, the responses I saw around A.J. Brown he's reading a book. Who gives a shit? Because if he's running up and down that sideline with his finger in the quarterback's face, or then he's a distraction. Then he's a cancer. Now he's using a tool in the year 2025 where all we hear about is mental health and the importance of it to calm his brain. Because at the time, I must say, one catch for 10 yards, so he wasn't getting the ball. Had a huge block on a touchdown to Dallas Goedert, and his body language was fine. I was at the game. And he's trying to tell people that they're making up the story. They're making up the story that he's upset. He's not upset.
Well, he's not upset. I mean, like that was one of the takes, but I think that's quickly been like dispelled because of what he said, and then just every publication covering it. But I think like what is interesting and unique about him in that situation, number one, is that people, if someone is like calm and like in their own space in the middle of like a major sporting event, no one is presumes that person is locked in. Right, like the locked-in person is more likely to be someone like they're jumping around, they're yelling, they're engaged, and the fact that like he was going to like this Zen place to sort of collect himself is really the place you need to be in to achieve at the highest level, like in anything. Secondly, like sports psychologists. I mean, we've interviewed people on this show. They've talked about how, even in the college space, they're trying to, advocate for mental health. Sports psychology is more accessible. But the way he's talking about this stuff, like, it sounds like he really, like, lives it. Like that it's spiritual for him. And, like, that only comes, and that's unique, from like really practicing and living by that. And I think that's what separates like someone like him versus someone who's like, yeah, I had a problem, I went to the sports therapist.
AJ Brown's an evolved human being.
Yeah.
He's an evolved human being. And the reason that people don't know how to handle him reading a book about inner excellence during the third quarter, whenever it was, of an NFL football game is because that's terrifying to them. To most people, it's terrifying to actually take a look inward, look at our behaviors, and then change. Especially for a guy like A.J. Brown, who is super passionate. And I love analogies. Here's the analogy I thought of. You're going to turn on the NFL this weekend, and you're going to see guys all over the league hopping on the stationary bike, coming out of halftime or to stay loose, to take care of their bodies, to take care of their legs, to keep loose. But A.J. Brown cracks open a book, and there's all this talk about mental health in our world. To do what? Take care of his mind, to stay focused, to stay centered. And it's going to go viral because people want to call him soft, or people want to say he's detached, or people saying he's a bad teammate. It's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. Here's a guy that is not only talking about his mental health, but he's practicing it.
Yeah. No, he's super locked in, and I also think like if we pulled a couple quotes from the book.
Yeah.
I'll just read one because I think it just sort of speaks to everything in our world right now, whether it's in sports or not. And like this quote is, "In the pursuit of extraordinary performance, it's easy to succumb to anxiety and pressure because so much is out of your control. When you learn to live a life that is fully engaged, however, then you can perform your best and love the challenge. Our best moments always come from a clear mind and unburdened heart." And for me, like, and I'll let you go on that, like, fully engaged, right? Like, the reason why sports and movement, it feels so good is because it's like it shuts down the noise box. Like, you can fully get out of yourself and just be in tune with what you're doing. And like, there's nothing that does it more than like, sports. Even that's why these exercise classes, you go in a room with a bunch of people and you just kill yourself. But like, you get to this place where you're just sort of in flow. And like, I feel like that someone like that who can maybe have a rough game, or maybe he did start having some frustrating thoughts. Maybe he was pissed off. He's like, no, I'm going to shut that down. I'm going to go to this space. I can take some actions and I can change my thinking. That's, revolutionary and amazing. And I feel like it's just very important in terms of being an athlete, but also just being a person. Because how many times do you walk around the world and you're like, oh, that person cut me off in the car, or like it's taking too long at Starbucks line. And it's like the ability, it's a superpower to be able to like talk to yourself into, getting outside of that thought spiral and get back into the flow of life. It just feels better. You're not walking around angry, and it's just better for your mental health and physical state. Dude,
I got to tell you, I had no idea this was going on. I had no idea it was going on. I'm at the game. No one's talking about A.J. Brown reading a book on the sidelines. My home text chain starts to blow up. Bizarre behavior, bad teammate. And I got to tell you, I'm like, I feel like I'm on an island with this shit sometimes because it was so clear to me. My favorite clip, if you want to talk about this football team, is Saquon Barkley had an easy touchdown on the last play of the game. He could have went and housed it. and he decided to slide, and they ran out the clock. The next shot on the highlights is Devonta Smith, Saquon Barkley, and A.J. Brown literally partying together after they win the game. Mm-hmm. People are trying to attack this guy, and this is why I always say in conflict and in fights and when people come at you, the best response is positivity and silence. Mm. People are trying to get to A.J. Brown, and he's just like, nope. Mm. You are not going to create this narrative about me. I've worked too damn hard on my mental health to let you and the media and the Twitterverse tell me who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about Saquon Barkley sliding there?
I mean, that's selfless, right? It's selfish. I mean, like, that's the kind of thing you want from one of your star players, to understand that, you know, the whole adage, like, there's no I in team. There isn't. Mm-hmm. You know, God forbid he keeps going and someone catches him and they fumble or he tears his knee. Like, things could have happened. I mean, would he have housed it? Most likely. But something twists his, you know, who knows? But
well, I mean, that guy too obviously has like a some sort of. I mean, Hertz had a quote. He's like, yeah, I've never seen him read before, but like, we all have our process about sort of getting into that flow. I mean, I think you have to have that, you know, whether it's reading a book or not. I mean, I think that's what's so jarring. But all these guys, whether they're conscious of it or not, know how to put themselves into that space. And even someone like Draymond Green, you know, like that dude feeds off of acting like a maniac, but like, he knows what he's doing. I mean, like 2 hours later, he'll be sitting in a hotel room on a podcast talking about it, like, with clarity. So it's like, you know, to be an athlete at that level, like, you obviously have to understand, like, how you can put yourself in that position to perform. And the question is, like, do we do enough of that in just like the normal day life? Because it's relevant there too. You know, like, I have, you know, I've had periods where I'll meditate or I'll spend time in the morning being quiet. Like, that ain't happening right now. But like, I do know that, you know, my day, I can, you know, start my day off on the right foot by just taking a little bit of time to like calibrate.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm with you. There's no doubt about it. When I take 3 minutes in the morning, I'm a better person. I just am. And I don't go right to the phone and start swiping or scrolling or checking emails or thinking about the thing that I have to do next.
It's a memory, because like, maybe you get sped up during the day, and because you took that extra time, you know, just a couple minutes of consciousness put onto that, maybe that thought comes back into your mind of like, I remember I started this day this way, and like, I can start it over right now, you know, or I can go a different way.
Yeah, I get, and like, dude, look, I might be fired up on this take. I might be seeing a moment in time where we have an opportunity to shine a flashlight on someone who is taking care of their mental health and push it forward in a positive way so that we can continue to make change, right? But I look for people on this planet that are willing to take risks, willing to be ahead of their time, willing to think outside the box. And that's why I started this episode by saying A.J. Brown is that, because guess what? He doesn't, in that moment, care what people think about him. Do you think he's really pulling out a book if he's worried about the judgment, if he's worried about...
Dude, I don't know how he could sit in a place with 80,000 people, and, you know, and sit quietly enough to be thinking about what you're reading. I mean, like, that's a level of focus where it's like, this dude is like, I need this right now, you know?
And maybe he's not, like, there were people that, like Jalen said, like, maybe he's not even reading it. Maybe it's just because I saw his teammates kind of call it the recipe. Maybe it's just his tool, man. Like, we talk about the toolbox all the time on this show. I get questions all the time. Zach, what do you do when you're feeling sad? What are you doing? So it's like, you sleep, you drink water, you go to, you know, connect with friends, you take time for yourself, you don't go on social media. Like, I can rant off all the things. Maybe for A.J. Brown, he wasn't actually reading. He could just crack it open and say, like, I'm going to just look at these pages because these pages are safe to me. And for me right now in this moment, I need to feel safe.
Yeah. And you know, the body and mind remembers that. I mean, like, that's like the old adage that we've talked about for many years. It's like, act your way into right thinking. Don't think your way into right acting. You know, just go pick up the book and he remembers, you know. I do think that the guy I just found this kind of interesting, that the dude who wrote that book, who was an athlete, baseball player. He got inspired to write this book. I think in 2003, he sold all of his belongings, and he went and lived in the desert in Arizona, and because he wanted to feel what it felt like to be really alive. Now, I don't know living by yourself in the middle of the desert, how you find being, feeling alive, but I just thought, when he did that, he came to, this is just one other thing. Sorry, I'm sort of nerding out here with a piece of paper, but actually I have it on my phone. Because I just thought this was an interesting question, and it relates to all this stuff. While in the desert, I began to research the answer to this question. How can an Olympic athlete train for 4 years for an event that may last less than 60 seconds and perform with complete peace and confidence?
I don't know, dude.
But think about it, dude. Like these, especially at least in the NBA, the NFL, like on paper, or like there's the money, the fame, like the power that comes with that. Like you think they're getting that. Most of them are not, but you think an Olympian gets their shot once every 4 years. They're tucked away somewhere else, just training. Their lives just revolve around that. And then the day comes, you get 2 weeks in the summer or the winter, whatever, and then it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like when we had Michael Carter Williams on, man, like I remember talking to him and being floored at the lack of resources available to these athletes. Floored. And when you think about professional sports teams and culture and all the shit that can go wrong on a sideline, like some dude pulling out a book and reading it, would we really think about that? If we really think about it, is on the bottom of the list for things that is going to disrupt a team or a player.
Well, dude, it's like imagine if they have the blue tent. You got the blue tent. What if you had? I mean, this is crazy. It'll never happen. It's probably ridiculous. But like a meditation room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could just go sit for like 2 minutes in quiet and then come right back out.
I'm with it. I mean, like that pause, that reset. That hey, dude, like let me pull you out of the chaos of this moment right now. And take a breather.
Yeah.
Like there are things that we can do that are not physical in nature that optimize our performance.
I think that's why some of these guys, they'll go to the locker room. Like you just, you get removed from the whole environment, the crowd, and then you can remember like, oh yeah, I'm just a dude putting on pads. Let's go out and do this.
I mean, dude, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, we love Tom Brady. You love Tom Brady.
I don't really love him as an announcer. I mean, I got to say.
It's fine. We're not talking about his announcing.
Fine.
The dude used to take naps. Used to fall asleep. And he's the only one that knows if he really fell asleep or not. But I would imagine there was some level of visualization taking place. I would imagine there was some level of meditation taking place. Again, like Tom Brady, when you look at him, is not the most physically imposing person.
No.
But he utilized his mind to beat other teams.
For sure.
And his belief in himself.
For sure. But the belief also came from, and like I've heard a lot of people talk about this, especially in professional sports, you do the work. Like, yeah, I'm maybe 1 for 25 over my last 25 shots, but I've put up thousands and thousands of shots, and I trust the process. But let me ask you a question. If A.J. Brown, who's a great football player, right, and he's saying, this is my tool, like this, and everyone, this is the recipe. Why do you think then, or maybe it will become more common, that more players aren't talking about, those kinds of ideas and philosophies around training and being an athlete?
Because we're just starting to understand the importance of it. It's not cool yet.
Yeah.
They're embarrassed. And he's a veteran in the league.
Yeah, because I think it also, it's like, hey, it takes time to really understand and learn that like this is valuable for you, and how you perform. It's like with meditation, where everyone will go meditate, like just committing to meditation is what makes meditation powerful. Like, yeah, maybe there's a moment where you have some sort of enlightened thought, but overall, it's just like I'm going to sit still for 10, 15 minutes and I do this consistently. That's the power. I mean, there's nothing you're really going to find other than that, like, I didn't do this and now I do, and it creates space for me.
Dude, the littlest, I remember talking to you on the phone 10 years ago and I was struggling with meditation. And I was like, Jay, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if this meditation thing's for me. I'd had periods of it really working. And you said something to me that stuck with me to this moment. And this is why influencing and the words we use and the way that we carry ourselves are so important, because I still think about this thing that you told me 10 plus years ago. And you just said it's about self-discipline. And so when you're meditating and you have that itch, or you want to quit, or you want to scratch your eye, like, the meditation is really about, can you understand and believe that you don't actually need to do anything right now? Like, you don't need to itch your eye. You don't need to scratch anything. You don't need to move. You don't need to check your watch. And I still think about that. Like, when I am meditating now and that itch comes, like, having the restraint or ability to kind of go deeper into the focus, deeper into the work, deeper into the meditative state, so they don't kind of break and come up and scratch the eye.
Yeah.
For what? Just to get that immediate relief, right? That's really what we're talking about here, is like operating on another level.
And things like that sound either silly or, you know, stupid or obvious are oftentimes the most powerful thing, you know. And just to give a little context, like what we were talking about is meditating and sitting absolutely still. Yeah. Do not move. And I don't do this now, but like when I was consistently, it was helpful to the point where I used to be able to like tell time without a watch. Like, if I was like, because I could feel in my body what 30 minutes was like, you know, and then completely lose myself. But ultimately, what was it? Yeah, the itch, you know, the impulse, the thought that I'm going to react to. And like, I know that like that is so over talked about right now, and all this stuff. That's why it is important, the people who are talking about it, like an AJ Brown, who really do it, you know, can provide clarity about like, this is why, like, reading a book, or this is why these ideas of being fully engaged are so important to me, you know, because going back to the thing about the athletes, why don't, dude, they could go get the resources, you know, they could ask, whether it's inside the NBA or the sports team or outside, they could go get it. They don't think, and I'm just not everyone, but they don't think it's going to work. What's the point? You know, it's not helpful. You know, it's like a lot of the guys I hear, you know, when you read about, I ate whatever the hell I wanted, and then like year 3, I realized that like that was hurting me and I couldn't do it. And then they change. I mean, that's why Tom Brady, I mean, the dude was surgical with what he put into his body, how he thought, how he trained. I mean, you know, might have cost him his marriage, but that's for another day. But you have to be like that, you know. And on the flip side, there's a line of overanalyzing and being too thoughtful and too, you know, in this stuff, where you sort of defeat the purpose of why you're doing it in the first place, which is like to be connected.
Yeah, but I mean, like, dude, here's the deal. You got to fake. You were the ones that got people to talk. Like, you got to fake it till you make it. You know, like there's an element of that. And the thing that I think about in kind of wrapping this all up is, when I think about the word influence, right, and I think about the way that people choose to carry themselves in the world, the thing that I know to be absolutely sure and certain is that next fall, when football teams and high school football teams go out there and take the field, there are going to be kids and high school age students who have been influenced by A.J. Brown's actions. And you're going to see, I guarantee it, clips of kids reading on the sidelines, or kids doing things that calm them down during a game. And that is how real, meaningful, sustainable change occurs, right? And so him doing this at the highest level, and people might think I'm overboard with this take. I don't really give a shit, because I know what I saw yesterday. And I know that we absolutely need to reward someone for that behavior. No one has ever questioned someone riding a stationary bike on the sideline. This is absolutely no different. And if anything, it's more important, because chances are, for a professional athlete, it is not going to be his legs that are going to fail him during crunch time. It is going to be his mind.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also a plug for reading. You know, I mean,
Do you read?
I read all the time, but am I sitting there reading a book? You know,
No, you're reading your phone. You're
I'm
reading,
reading my phone or screen or an article or something that isn't necessarily just words on a page that can allow me to go to another place. Which it's great to see someone saying that he's an avid reader.
Yeah, dude, mental health, it's important. This was one of those moments. We're going to keep responding to him. This was fun. Jay's smart. I think you guys are going to like him. And we're going to keep bringing him back from time to time to do these little responsive.
I'm always here, but I'll be back.
When we let him out of the cage, he comes out.
Yeah. I'm a Patriots fan, so I really don't want to talk
Mike
too much
Vrabel.
about the
Go
Eagles.
Birds.
We'll see. Go Birds.
Peace.